Welcome to the MI Project. I'm your host, Rochelle V. Gray. This is a show that asks you the question, what's your genius? How are you smart? Ask me how I'm smart. How am I smart?
How are you smart?
I'm going to introduce him in a minute. He's a surprise. I am smart musically, linguistically, and body kinesthetic. That's going to be a question I'm going to ask you if you know what that is later. All right. This gentleman to my right is a dear friend, an educator, and I'm going to let you know what else he does a little later. Mr. Bobby B.J. Williams.
Thanks, Miss Gray.
Welcome. I'm so excited to have him, and I love getting to know young people because they keep you young. And they're always on the auspice or the edge of doing things. And how long have we been knowing each other now? Has it been 3 years?
This is 2 years.
2 years?
2 years.
It's been really nice knowing this gentleman.
Feels longer though. A lot longer.
Is that a good thing?
It is a good thing.
Oh, okay. I was checking.
It's a very good thing. It's a very good thing.
Because some people you'd be like, oh yeah, I know them a little too long. Well, it's been a day.
A very long one. A time.
It has. It really has been a long day. So we kind of like get our energy from you guys out there, you know, out there in the land, the FB land, and the Instagram land, and the Twitter land, and the Roku land. We're silly in this land. Yeah. We're going to get shook over here. Well, I want to go to my shout outs. Shout out!
Who are you shouting out?
Oh, man. I want to shout out my friend Talina Williams, Hurston, New Jersey. She has I would say ministry. It really is a ministry, but she has a nonprofit called Wiley and Xavier Autistic Kids Can Do.
Oh, I love this.
She's amazing. And when I met her, I was going to tutor her son. And her son wasn't born with autism. And generally people say there's two schools of thought. You either are born with it or you get it from shots. Mm-hmm. And he went to the doctor and he was sick. And they asked the doctor was okay. He had the little cocktail they give him. And boys have more propensity for autism than girls because of DNA. And they said sure. And 2 weeks later he had full-blown autism.
Oh, wow.
But when I met this kid, because, see, she believes what God says he is. Mm-hmm. So she tells him, you are beautifully, wonderfully made. They say you are this, but he says you are this. And autistic kids don't look you in the eye, and they don't like sound. And he came up to me, shook my hand, and I was like, who's this kid? Like, where's the kid I'm supposed to be tutoring? Mm-hmm. Well, from there, she just has a heart. Because sometimes when you go through things, sometimes it's for other people as well. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And she is that voice that will sue a school district in a minute to get services for autistic kids. And she was working for a company, and she wasn't happy. And generally, I'll ask people, you know, I hate my job. What are you really called to do? What's your purpose? Because this is not it. And she says, I want to have an autism program. And I was like, well, let's try a 2-week camp. And we wrote it up, and I'm on her board, and it was a success. And it was amazing because the parents were so relieved when they got home. They were so rested because they knew they had someone taking care of their child who knew why they were screaming because of light or sensitivity, not because they're bad, because people don't find out. And such a time as this was born, and Wiley and Xavier Autistic Kids Can Do is amazing.
And I think autistic kids to me are pretty cool. I actually have one in my classroom this year, and when I tell you she is the most amazing student in that whole class when it comes to intelligence, and it's not the normal autistic that most people think. She's very advanced.
So she's like Asperger's. She has like Asperger's.
She's on that verge of between autism and Asperger's, and she's amazing, a phenomenal student, and I love having her in class every single day because you never know what's going to come up. But it's also that she teaching a new concept. Even today, I taught something brand new to my students, and she caught on so quick, and she was able to explain it to others and able to actually, in a sense, almost help her group and teach her group, even with this setback. And I thought it was absolutely amazing because a lot of people, when they automatically think of autism, they think of one who's very sensitive to light and very sensitive to sound. But the autism spectrum is so wide
it really is.
You know, you really don't know where that child is unless you actually truly sit and meet with them and actually talk with them. And you could have, I've talked with her several times and just have an amazing conversation about everything.
So what's her name?
Her name is Angel.
So Angel, we're going to shout out. We're going to shout
Angel's
out Angel.
going to have one of my major shout outs.
All right, we're going to shout out. I'm going to shout out Miss Nancy White. Nancy White is going to be one of my guests. She's an amazing networker. She is the connector supreme. And Nancy thinks about us, and I'm like, Nancy think about us when I don't even think we thinking about us. And they'll text you and say, oh, you got to meet this person. And I love that about that because she really reminds me of the kingdom of God. Especially when you meet someone cool, and I'm going to shout out Jennifer too. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. When you meet someone that is new or doesn't look like you, and it's just amazing, you'd be like, you know, this is what heaven is like.
Yes.
God made so many different kinds of people, and this is what heaven is like. So, shout out Nancy White. Can't wait till December 6th with you on the MI Project. And last, Empower the Youth Bowling League. We are rocking it. We just got word. Well, Pepsi, North Carolina, with this thousands of dollars in bowling scholarships, had its first qualifier for its April tournament. And I'm talking across the state of North Carolina. There's over, I think they said like 12,000 youth bowlers.
Yeah, that's about right.
And 8 of my bowlers got through the first cut.
All right.
We going to Pepsi and we're going to get those scholarship dollars. And I love it because when you look at that list of kids, maybe 2 of them would have been bowling.
Yeah.
So as a result of Empower the Youth and the vision that God gave us, we have kids that are bowling for scholarship dollars that normally would not have.
That is true. And I saw your list you sent to me, and a couple of them were some of my former students.
Yes, Eastway.
And I was actually proud, so shout out to those kids at Eastway. Those students with Empower the Youth. Go get that money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So shout out Empower the Youth Bowling. And parents, you need to sign your kids up in April.
I definitely went and watched. I came to a couple of your practices at the bowling alley right here in Charlotte, and it's really, really neat to watch these kids ranging from like 8 to high school age, and they're throwing a ball better than I throw a ball. And like this is like almost it has the crazy thing I like about it was, you know, you're 12, 13 years old, and your ball has that little spin that goes out and comes back in.
Yeah.
And I can't even do that. And I'm like, yo,
it's called coaching, ladies and gentlemen. We do have coaches, and they are good. So, shout out Empower the Youth Bowling. Well, let's do a little recap. Last week, we had a gentleman. His name is Osceola Thomas. He is a proposal writer. And one of the objectives of the MI Project is to introduce our youth to new things or new careers. So I wanted to put that out there to parents who might not have seen the show. Go back and see the show because, you know what? Some of your kids are proposal writers. Some of your kids are going to help organizations change our community. I see it already. So let's get them proposal writing. All right. So, Mr. BJ Williams.
Yes, ma'am.
Educator, elementary school educator. I love that. I bow down to elementary teachers. I teach 7th, 8th grade. 9th grade is my certification. I did 6th grade for 2 years. Longest 2 years of my life. Never again. My principal knew if you gave me 6th grade, you might as well be like, fired! I know you trying to kill me. You trying to get me out the building because you know I'm scared 6th graders.
I spent 4 years in elementary. I taught 4th grade for 6 years.
I did 4th grade for 2
and I loved it. I did. I loved every single bit about it. Loved everything about it. The kids, the school I was at.
4th grade was nice.
The 4th grade was fun, but I spent, my last 2 years have been at Eastway Middle, and I love middle school. I don't want to go back to elementary.
Y'all thought y'all had it.
I'm set with my 6th graders. I love my 6th graders. I love my 6th graders. The kids are great. And even as a whole, just Eastway as a whole. I love the atmosphere. I love the people I work with.
They have a great staff.
The kids, the staff is amazing. Administration is great. And it's so much fun because we come to work every day And if you ever come to work, if you ever come by Eastway, you'll see me in the hallway. And if I see her in the hallway, I don't call her Miss Gray. This is Auntie Gray.
Auntie Gray.
So I'll be in the middle of the hallway and just with kids. Oh, there go Auntie Gray. Hey, Auntie Gray. And yell in the middle of the hallway. And that's just the atmosphere we have. It's more of a family style atmosphere instead of a just, oh, that's a coworker. Hey, coworker, how you doing? Good morning.
And that's true.
And that's what makes it fun.
Because I went out sick on Friday. And I don't get sick often. It usually doesn't last long. And when I walked in Monday, my VP, he was like, "You're here?" And I was like, "You know what? I didn't even think to stay home." That's a great place to be.
It is.
That's awesome.
It really is. I didn't even think. I was like, I could have took a sick day.
You can.
But I did. Next time, no. So, BJ is our digital expert. Wait, Google. Is it Google Digital? I'm going to let you explain it.
Not only do I teach 6th grade ELA, and also coach baseball and volleyball.
Yes.
I'm also a digital expert for the district with Google and all levels of Google. I'm also a digital expert for Canvas. Canvas is our learning management program system. And then I'm also just in a sense for our school, somewhat like a tech facilitator, just not the official title. So I do a lot of troubleshooting of programs and things when we get new software, new programs that we decide to use in the classroom. I do a lot of trainings at school. I've also done state level trainings. I've also done trainings in other states.
He's amazing. And I went for...
And it's all on technology. It's all on how to improve in technology. Basically, in a sense, how to make our job easier.
And I was going for Google Leader. And I was like, Leader was enough for me. You can be the expert. And there were a few things that he had to help me tweak. Because I was like, BJ, I'm not going to get this leader badge without you. But it was a great experience. And he's just really helpful. And if he walks down the hall, somebody's going to call you in their room to fix something, put something together or something.
It is not a day that I don't walk down the hallway or get stopped by not even just teachers, even administrators. Like, can you do this on Google? Or can you come by here because this is messing up and my laptop's not working right. Can you come check it out? And I'm like, put in a ticket. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Like, give me a second to get there and I'll get there. But usually if I can't figure it out, I do this one or two things. Either I'll go home and try it myself and play around, or if it's something that I truly can't fix, then I always go to the next level. So I always go higher up.
All right, so I'm going to interrupt him right now because we want him to talk about that in the next part of the show. How you get there and why it's important for our kids to know that they can do this.
Of course.
And you mentioned Canvas too, which I'm just going to say because a lot of your colleges, that's the platform they use.
Yes, a lot of
Canvas, so that's very important. Now, for parents who don't know about the MI project, there's a gentleman named Howard Gardner in the 1980s. He's a Harvard professor, still lives, and in the 1980s he came up with the theory that we learn more than one way. And at the time we knew we were biokinesthetic learners or visual learners or auditory learners, but we didn't know about the others. And it was like an explosion. I said, oh my God, there's other ways kids can learn. We need to be using art in the classroom and music in the classroom and looking at how kids, with their spectrums of life. But then we kind of fell off of it because the one thing about the intelligence is when you learn something new, it has to be tweaked. So you would find educators trying to do all the intelligences in one lesson because, in education, if it's good, you got to do it like full force. Yes. So you can't do that. That's crazy. And it was burning teachers out, and people was like, okay, but you don't. Even if you hit a couple of intelligences a day, you're still going to fulfill all the needs of your kids. So my thing was, for years, I've always given my kid a multiple intelligence test in my classroom because I always wanted to get to know them. And once I get them to understand how they are smart, it's smooth sailing. And I kind of dropped off for a while, and I was, giving kids tests, and especially new kids, you find out a lot about them, and they open up.
Yes. And
because, I'm smart, Miss Grace, I'm smart. And then when you find out, especially if you find out that they're biokinesthetic athletes or music, it means a big deal to them.
Yes, it does. And
then you can get them working in that area and in conjunction with school, and it makes school a happier day for them. So my vision is to just let every parent, every adult, every child take that test And you took the test.
I did take the test.
And what did you have on your test?
I'm trying to remember.
I know what you had.
I know my first one was music.
Yes, and I was like, and are you musical?
I am musical. I actually started in 6th grade. I started in 6th grade in band, just like every other middle school kid. And
that's true.
you started in 6th grade with band, and you're like, well, what instrument do you want to play? So music was my biggest one, and that actually took me through high school. Was music, was marching band. That was life from middle school all the way through high school. And the biggest thing, even to this day, music is still big. I was actually sitting in my classroom at the end of the day today and getting work done. And of course, playing in the background is music. So everything I do, if it's at home, if I'm working, if it's at school, am I working, I'm in the confines of my classroom, it's all music. Something has to be played in the background.
And kids connect with that.
They do.
And you don't have to be a singer.
No, I am far from a singer. Far from a singer.
So that's my myth buster for all my parents. Because sometimes when people think of music because of their experiences, they think you have to sing.
No. I know one of my biggest things was growing up, and I see this with my kids in the classroom with some of them, and I have a bad habit of telling them to stop, but a lot of them, they drum.
That's right.
And for me, I can sit there and I can...
That's right. And they'll learn it every time.
But the cool thing about it was a way for me to remember information.
Absolutely. Everything has a rhythm. Words have rhythms, patterns. And if we got more into that, that's why a lot of kids chewing gum works for them. But we don't want them to chew gum. I need to just teach you how to chew gum. You know I'm a beast if it's on my chair or on the floor.
Yes.
But other than that, I have a problem. I'm looking for gum because you do need that rhythm of gum.
You need that something. You need a constant
that pattern. Yeah. So educators and administrators and boys and girls, let's find a way to do the gum thing without getting it on stuff, and maybe you could get it back.
I had a piece on my floor the other day.
Because let me tell you, it's like I'm a beast then.
It's not happening.
No, not at all. It's ugly.
It
just got spit on it.
So disgusting.
So, you see we have fun on our show, but it's really educational, and it is a movement for us. And I want to invite you to go back and check out our other shows, our past shows, and call us and let us know what you think at 980-267-4604 or email us at the MI Project 062017 at Gmail. I'd really like to know what you think. And I can get you to take that test. And maybe you can be on the MI Project. Alrighty. You ever heard a kid being told they were shy?
Actually, yes.
Do you think they're really shy?
No. I have one in my class like that. That at the first part it was like, you're really shy, but I feel like you just have to find their niche. It's kind of like you have to figure out what is going on.
They're interpersonal.
Okay.
Intrapersonal. Supremely profound sense of self. Very comfortable in their skin. Don't get them to do what they don't want to do. Pay attention to detail. They get their projects done.
They do.
They speak when they have something to say. One of my producers behind the camera is intrapersonal. So stop calling kids shy. I want to bust that myth. Now, there are some shy kids.
There are.
And they are taught to just really turn it on, but they're not shy.
Yeah.
They're intrapersonal. Okay. So you were musical?
Musical.
And you were interpersonal?
I wasn't the shy one.
You were interpersonal.
I was interpersonal.
And you were body kinesthetic, which I know you're an athlete. I know. We're gonna talk about those sometimes. But how did you feel when you took the test?
Honestly, when I took it, I remember taking it a long time ago, many years ago. Probably when I was in grade school. And I remember one of my biggest ones was, of course, body kinesthetic and of course linguistic, because I teach English.
I knew you was going to be linguistic.
And
he's talked too much. You hear that? Myth number 2, but we'll talk about that in another show.
But I was actually surprised, like when I looked at it and was going through the questions, the whole music piece started to come back. And it threw me off. I was like, oh, so I really realized music did play a big piece in me learning and who I am.
I love it. I love it. They got some Fuzz Ecology, let me tell you. Well, I had a little thing I wanted to do. First, I wanted to tell you guys, in addition to Howard Gardner coming up with this theory, and it really does work. It is one of the ways that can help us learn and get kids to learn other careers. I was telling you guys that there's a occupational handbook in Washington, D.C., and you can go online. It is the research of the Bureau of Labor and Statistics.
Okay.
And you can go there, and they have, even if you put in music, they have all these careers of music that come up with what they make. And I was very pleasantly surprised to see that music, which we focus on because that's you, is an upswing of about 7% kids and more jobs are opening up in music. But why is that? Because there's all these digital ways and other things to do music.
Exactly.
So let's go back to what you do with Google.
Within Google, and actually right now I'm actually working on my Google Trainer certification.
Ooh,
so this is even a higher
might as
level.
well. Get that money. Google Trainer certification. So when you see little Google YouTube on the internet, okay, you get trained in that, make money.
Definitely
Yes.
can. I think with that is with the music piece and then with Google, there's a lot of stuff that you can do within technology. A lot of with not only just being able, if it's the music piece, not only just being, trying to produce or trying to make a music video, but there's even just more than just, dealing with YouTube, because YouTube is part of Google.
That's right. That's true.
And so a lot of the kids I know at our school,
They have YouTube.
They want to pull up YouTube
Yeah.
and watch the videos and play the music videos and everything, but teaching them how to do that is that next step of being able to take the technology form of music and being able to produce your own music, whether it's using programs that help them create their own beats and being able to use it to read music, because that's the biggest thing. A lot of our kids listen to
my
it,
goodness.
but being able to read it.
And that held us back. And do you know a fun fact? Do you know the Beatles, not one of them could read music?
Really?
Every one of them played by ear. I was like, what? Fun fact, none of the Beatles. I was like, what?
I didn't know that.
I was in shock. But you know what? That held a lot of us back because we had music gifts and we didn't learn how to read theory. And we didn't get to go on to college as a result and major in music. We wanted to major in something else.
And that's really funny because to this day, I have my uncle, my mother's middle brother, is a pianist for our family church back home. And I remember my mom telling us the story about how my uncle became to play the piano. Was my grandmother, literally, I want to say my uncle was never formally trained, never had any classes. He had to learn by ear.
See, that's how we did.
And he learned to play the piano and the organ by ear. And to this day, he is one of the biggest sought after piano and organ players in the county back home.
And that's exactly what happened. But my God, if they could learn to read too.
Read music.
So, I want to do 3 more fun facts before we leave.
Okay.
I really follow European education much. And did you know that in Hong Kong, they're getting ready to open this big center for learning, and it is based on Howard Gardner multiple intelligences. Wow. I was like, ka-ching! Yeah.
So I'm guessing the courses are going to be...
What? Multiple intelligences.
So it's been fun working with you.
How you going to Hong Kong? I should have told you. I should have. So, but if I was young enough, yeah, I'd be going to Hong Kong. So, give me a fun fact.
Oh, this is true.
I know, I thought about you. Go ahead.
I definitely do this all the time. It says listening to music while working out measurably improves physical performance.
So that's true.
Completely agree with this, because if the right song comes on and I'm on the elliptical, game over. Game over.
Okay, you don't like the original version of a song because it's better. You like it because it's the one that you heard first.
Agreed. Because there's some makeups that I just
can't stand.
I can't stand. It says, this one says, Warner Music collected over $2 million in royalties for public uses of the Happy Birthdays. What?
Just this year. $2 million. They own the Happy Birthday song. How do you own the Happy Birthday song? Multiple intelligences, ladies and gentlemen. Multiple intelligences. Multiple intelligences.
We're gonna find a song.
And we can write it. I think we should.
We're gonna make some money.
In my project song. The Shaking the Gate song. Yes, we are. We are silly. It is
We're
late.
making money.
But again, and this could be your child. I mean, that was a child.
Mhm.
So I don't know how many minutes we have left, but I want to tell you something that I learned today about a person that he's intrapersonal, but he's also visual spatial.
Mhm.
The gentleman that made Nike sneakers. He's scientific. He's that visual person, that scientist. So he said he wanted to create a company, right? And he wanted to be a premier sneaker company, but he didn't want to just create anything. So he started to look at athletes, how they performed at the end of the race. You know, when you do that big push.
Mhm.
And he did that, and he let scientists look at the brain at the moment they were pushing for that finish line. The football player, the dodgeball, when she goes up and hits and they noticed that in the brain at that moment, the peptides in the brain form a swoosh.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
Wow.
I've never.
And that is a symbol for Nike. And he said only premier people that, like I tell my kids, strive for excellence could ever wear his shoe. And that's how he's going to make it great and make a lot of money.
You did
I'm gonna go
that.
look that up now. That's amazing.
I was like, wow. I was floored.
Because you know what, the first thing I thought about with Nike was the Greek god Nike.
That's exactly right. And that's why he
And-
called it
and the
Nike,
swoosh.
which means, that's right, which means victory. But he didn't have this, Nike guy didn't have
Have
the
the
swoosh.
swoosh.
Right. He put them together, and now it's history.
And now he's making billions.
Yeah,
See, we gotta come up with a song.
I know we do. Now we got to have a song and a logo.
What?
It's going to happen.
It's not
Yeah.
happening. It's not happening. The struggle's real. And I need my song and a logo. I'm down.
Oh my God, I'm so down. And I got the digital prowess to push it. Well, so what do you want to tell my kids about the Multiple Project? What do you think? You think we should be getting this to all the kids?
I really think it should. It would, for as a classroom teacher, as both of us are classroom teachers, it'll make. I think it'll cut down on a lot of behavior issues.
See?
Because you'll be able to see that one kid that is constantly doing this.
Right.
He's
musical.
Yeah, he may have ADD, ADHD.
Right.
But the kid also can have a
Absolutely.
musical ability. So if you're sitting there in class and he can't get through writing a paper, hey, write a rap song.
And what if this kid never had the musical class, which happens? I had a kid today. He's in art, and he's told the teacher, I can't stand art. And she was alarmed, and she wanted to make sure it had nothing to do with her, Jennifer. And it didn't have anything to do with her, but at least she was caring enough to find out. And he was like, no, I just hate art. I wish I was in music. Why isn't this kid in music?
Exactly.
So that's the moment I want to push.
And so that it would make, like I said, that piece with getting the kids where they should be. And I think that should be the biggest thing in middle school as well as high school. If you're in high school, you get to choose your class, you get to choose your electives.
Right.
I feel like a lot of the behavior stuff and issues that our kids have in school is that they don't get to choose where they want to go, and that'll be it can be a game changer. That
And it
kid
makes
gets into
sense.
music, and next thing you know, he's taking off, and he basically goes on that same track.
Because guess what? I mean, you know about kids that write songs. We got kids that write poetry. So we're pushing them to use their intelligence and perhaps be famous one day. So it was so much fun having you.
I love being around you. It's so much fun.
And I appreciate that, really, because I know you guys can choose anybody around. And when I come to your house sometime and I'm like the oldest, it is so much fun. All the kids are there. I call them kids. They're the college kids, and making their way in the game. And I'm like, look at this. So I get to be around, and I really appreciate that.
Of course, anytime.
And I love you.
I love you too, Auntie Gray.
Thank you. Thank you for being on the MI Project.
Of course, anytime.
I ain't gonna twist his arm, but he could really have a great show. I'm just gonna put that in his head.
We'll see one day.
Yeah, we have some time.
I gotta fit my song and my logo first.
Okay. All right, we're gonna do that.
first.
All right. Okay. I'll make sure it happens.
Note to self.
Thank you once again for joining us for the MI Project. It has been a lot of fun this evening. Forgive us for our silliness, kind of to our heart. Your heart, not your head. But we had a good time. And guess what? You can have fun with your multiple intelligences and really show You're a genius. I want to invite you back for the next time on the Wake Up Call Internet Radio and Television Broadcasting Network. It's been real.
Real fun.
Bye for now.